Picture a walker in complete darkness, exploring a mountain range step by step, where each footstep depends only on where they stand right now, not where they started, and somehow, through this simple process, they map out the entire landscape perfectly. This is Monte Carlo Markov Chains, and what you're seeing here is exactly that problem. You see, when we try to understand complex probability distributions, the ones we encounter in real machine learning and statistics, we face a fundamental challenge. These distributions have multiple peaks, weird shapes, and often exist in dimensions so high we can't even visualize them. Traditional sampling methods try to cover the entire space randomly, throwing points everywhere, and hoping some land in the right spots. But look at what happens. Most of our samples, those red dots, completely miss the target, and we're wasting enormous computational resources just to get a few useful green points that actually tell us about our distribution. Except reject sampling, which is what you're seeing now with this bounding box approach, seems logical at first. We draw a box around our target distribution and randomly sample within it, accepting points under the curve and rejecting those above. But watch the inefficiency unfold before your eyes. Out of 30 samples, we're rejecting most of them, and this gets exponentially worse as dimensions increase or distributions become more complex, because that green box needs to grow larger and larger to encompass all the peaks, leading to acceptance rates that drop to less than 1% in real applications. Here's the revolutionary insight that changes everything, and it's beautifully simple when you see it visually. Instead of treating each sample independently, throwing away all information from previous attempts, what if each new sample learned from where we just were? Those blue dots represent independent sampling, where each point knows nothing about the others. But watch what happens when we create dependence. These green dots connected by yellow arrows, where x sub n plus 1 is drawn from a probability distribution conditioned on x sub n, creating a chain of information that flows from sample to sample. This chain structure is precisely what we call a Markov chain, named after Andrei Markov, who studied these sequences where the future depends only on the present, not the past. Look at this circular network of states, each one connected to its neighbors by transition probabilities, and watch our yellow particle move through them, making decisions based solely on its current position. This memoryless property might seem limiting, but it's actually what makes the mathematics tractable, allowing us to analyze and control where our samples will eventually concentrate. The Monte Carlo part comes from using random sampling to estimate quantities we can't calculate directly. Imagine trying to find the average height of this distribution. Analytically, we'd need complex integrals, but with Monte Carlo, we simply take random samples and average them. Watch as these green dots accumulate and see the running average converge to the true value, shown by the red line approaching the yellow target. But here's the problem. In high dimensions, getting good samples becomes nearly impossible with pure randomness. That's where marrying Monte Carlo with Markov chains becomes brilliant. Instead of random shots in the dark, we get guided exploration that naturally concentrates samples where they matter most. Now, here's the brilliant trick that makes MCMC work, the stationary distribution. Imagine starting a Markov chain from any random point, anywhere on this landscape. Watch what happens as we run the chain. No matter where we started, the red, blue, or green chains, they all converge to spending time proportional to the height of our target distribution. After enough steps, 30% of samples are in this peak, 70% in that peak, exactly matching our target. This is the stationary distribution. When the chain reaches equilibrium, the fraction of time spent in each region exactly matches the probability we want to sample. Our random walk has become a perfect sampling machine. Let me show you MCMC actually working on a real distribution. We start with that red dot at an arbitrary position and watch as it proposes moves, shown briefly as white dots, then either accepts them, moving to green positions, or rejects them, staying put. See how the algorithm naturally explores the high probability regions, spending more time near the peaks and less time in the valleys. Each decision to accept or reject is based on the ratio of probabilities, ensuring we're always biased toward regions of higher density while still maintaining the correct overall distribution through our careful acceptance rules. But there's something crucial about those early red samples versus the later green ones, and this distinction is fundamental to using MCMC correctly. Those first samples, the red ones, are still finding their way to the high probability regions. They're part of what we call the burn-in period, like warming up an engine on a cold morning. We need to discard these because they don't represent our target distribution. They're still influenced by wherever we arbitrarily started. But after this burn-in, after the chain has forgotten its starting point, every green sample is effectively drawn from our target distribution. Look at this trace plot showing sample values over iterations, and you can see the burn-in period clearly. Those red values are still converging, still finding their equilibrium, but after that yellow line at iteration 15, the green trace has settled into its stationary behavior. The samples bounce around in a pattern that perfectly reflects our target distribution, and if you were to histogram these green samples, you'd recover the exact shape of the distribution we're trying to sample from. The mathematical foundation ensuring all of this works is called detailed balance, and it's elegant in its simplicity. For any two states x and y, the flow of probability from x to y, which is p of x times t of y given x, must exactly equal the flow from y back to x, which is p of y times t of x given y. This bidirectional equilibrium, represented by those yellow arrows, guarantees that our target distribution is indeed stationary, and this condition is what we verify when designing new MCMC algorithms to ensure they'll converge to the right answer. MCMC has revolutionized computational statistics and machine learning because it works where other methods fail catastrophically. In Bayesian inference, we use it to sample from posterior distributions that have no closed form. In physics simulations, it models particle systems with millions of interactions. In machine learning, it trains models with thousands of parameters. And in finance, it prices derivatives in high-dimensional markets. Everywhere you see complex probability distributions that need to be understood, MCMC is likely working behind the scenes, taking its dependent steps through probability space. What makes MCMC so powerful is this beautiful marriage of two ideas that seem almost contradictory at first. From Markov chains, we take dependent sampling, where each step learns from the last, allowing efficient exploration that concentrates in important regions. And from Monte Carlo, we take the power of simulation, using randomness to solve problems that have no analytical solution. Together, they create an algorithm that can map any probability landscape, no matter how complex, as long as we can evaluate relative probabilities, and while we sacrifice the independence of our samples, we gain the ability to tackle problems that would otherwise be completely intractable, making MCMC one of the most important algorithms in modern computational science. And that's basically it for this video. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this explanation, share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to be up to date with the content I create on this channel. See you next time. Bye bye.